Wednesday, November the 11th, 2021, and today's little sortie. So, before I was disturbed there, Wednesday the 11th of November, Remembrance Day, and I don't know if I've previously walked on a Remembrance Day before. And once again, many walkers here being Barton-Le-Clay in Central Beds, just over the border from me, and I'm doing another North Herts Ramblers walk of around 9.5–10 miles today. It's a grey day, not too cold though, and the important thing is, from my perspective, as you can see on the trees, little breeze. So it's about 12:15 now, despite what that clock says up there. Clearly hasn't been adjusted or wound up again. So I need to get my skates on. Sunset today is 4:15ish. So let's press on and see what awaits. Just opposite the church here, you can see we're following initially the Chiltern Way extension, and we're very much in Chiltern country here. It's an AONB, area of outstanding natural beauty. So although it's misty, we won't fully get to appreciate that today, I'm afraid. So my initial walk is slightly different to that of the GPX trail, because they've parked on the other side of the recreation ground. But as I've parked outside St Nicholas's church, I can rejoin the GPX trail a bit further up the hillside here. That's the beauty of a GPX track. So I'm passing Church Road Burial Ground. And as you can see, in the summer months there is a high fire risk in this area. Not today, mind. So here's an idea of the terrain today. Barton Hills got a high point of around 775, I noticed earlier. It's pretty decent for our locality. And as you can see ahead there, some conservation work going on. The old electric streamers are out. Very much, as you can see from the colours, beech tree territory here. I should add that I'm doing the walk in a clockwise direction with a view to having my lunch at the church in Streatley. So I've crossed over a little footbridge back in that direction, and I'm now following the GPX trail, headed into Leet Wood ahead of me here. Because the surface underfoot is chalky and with fallen leaves on it as well, walking is quite slippy today. The GPX trail now takes us out of the wood, across this stream which emanates from Barton Springs, which I have filmed previously on a Saturday Walkers Club walk. Barton Circular or something like that, Harlington to Barton, can't remember. Anyway, we've come out of Leet Wood now. And here, as it starts to mist drizzle, which is not good for filming, get a bit of an impression of the hills. As you can see, we're now entering a livestock grazing area, which thankfully is ponies as opposed to cattle. Information panel there about Barton Hills. which you can find on a search engine. So this is the source of the stream, Barton Hill Springs. Wonderful. Lovely sound, eh? So as the misty drizzle's getting heavier, I'm going to actually walk up through the wood. Seems to be getting worse as I ascend, which makes sense. And there's another couple. Views back down the valley whence I've come. Drizzle's left off a bit now, which is good. Further misty views down the valley. A little bit of sun poking out now as well. Wonderful. So here we go. Further views back. And I can see some ponies over there. There are the Dartmoors. Stood right in my way by the gate there, of course. Good to see though. There's half a dozen of them, it seems, in this herd. Interesting looking things. Their manes are matted with galls, thistle galls, which get stuck in dogs as well, and a nightmare to get out. God knows how to get them out of these horses or ponies. So leave the nature reserve through Tommy's Gate. Take this sharp right here, which is in fact the Bunion Trail. No, it isn't. I'm leaving the Bunion Trail. I'm currently stood on it. As you may be able to hear, this one is busy doing what he's paid to do, keeping down the vegetation in a natural way, which is good to see. And in fact, I got that wrong. You don't turn sharp right, you continue straight ahead on the Bunion Trail. Interesting panel here about farming, supplied by Leaf, who you can also research online if you wish. And we're just walking past a farm here on my left. Information panel there. Not seen so much now, but coronavirus obviously still pretty prevalent. That is Barton Hill Farm on the map, which looks like a load of storage units now and little offices. Far from farming anyway. I might be wrong, but it's the impression I get. Now that the verge has been cleared, look at the rubbish that's been left behind. And I bet your bottom dollar they won't be able to clear it. It's atrocious, absolutely atrocious. It's bad enough from cutting down the vegetation, but then to not clear up the rubbish, it's a joke. Around 500 foot here, and as you can see over Luton there in the distance, looks pretty showery, but we're enjoying some respite currently. Bit of sunshine, big field country with the inevitable pylons. Some wonderful colours there amongst the beech. Some pines in there as well, just to offset it. We're doing a right behind this tree belt to join the Icknield Way. At this juncture here, there are possibilities to go left straight ahead, but we're going right, which I've walked on a previous NHRG walk last summer. There is a busy, as today anyway, golf course on my left. So at this juncture here, crossroads, we take a right into the woods. And on the previous walk I descended along that path there from Galley Hill, because I remember commenting on a information panel here about a lost dog, or an information sheet. I'm actually looking at the information panel. So here we go, into woodland. Buzzard there. Plenty of them around today, and kites. As I said last week, it's the big birds that are doing well, and the small ones, your finches and your pipits and larks and so forth, that are struggling. Anyway, out of the woodland very quickly, back into open country, back in onto ourselves again under the pylons there. Okay, at this finger post here, right beneath the transmission line, take a left, headed along this lane, almost following the transmission line, which is very healthy. So we're actually following the Chiltern Way at this point, approaching 2 o'clock now, and on the fringes of Streatley. This belt of trees on my left has probably been put in since the GPX track was done. I don't know when it was done, but it's number 24, so it's early on in the series, probably a decade ago, and these trees may well not have been here. Ahead of me, just coming into earshot, is the busy A6, which thankfully at this point is single track, a single carriageway, so it's got to be crossed though. Interesting. Is that 1851? I think it is. Prince's Corner, Streatley Parish Council. Next to the busy A6, which takes a little while to cross. There's not even a traffic island in the middle. Outrageous, really. Onward journey henceforth is up this lane. Entering Streatley. Princes are obviously a big family in this place. The old Baptist chapel, now a residence. Interesting signpost here next to the village pond, Pask Hospice. Information panel here about the village pond, which you can research online if you wish to learn more. Come off the lane here to rejoin the Icknield Way and the Chilton Way, passing the village hall, and then the Checkers pub, which, as often is the case, is next to the church. Very pleasant village sign. So here we are, 2:15, St Margaret's Church, Streatley. There she blows. There are a number of seats in the churchyard, so I'll pick a nice quiet one in the sun, I think, today. Look at that church tower, very different again. Absolutely amazing, the architecture of our churches. Wonderful little church here. Okay, let's remember the unfortunates that died in the two Great Wars and every war since. 11/11, 21. And as I say, I can't recall if I've walked on a Remembrance Day previously, but I'm sure I possibly have. And whilst we're remembering people, let's remember Arthur Hugh Richardson here, who lived a good age, and thank him for this seat. Okay, 3 o'clock, let's press on. Hour and a quarter of daylight left and a fair few miles to go. Don't know if I'll make it today. So just ahead of the A6 here, we turn left, as you can see, walking almost alongside the A6 for a little way, with an allotment site on my left. So at this juncture we leave Barton Hill Cutting on my right there, down in the valley, take a left here, headed towards Sharpenhoe, where we walked a couple of times this year, the Clappers. Interesting name, eh? So as you can see, we're currently walking a permissive path which could disappear at any time, unfortunately, albeit it is the Icknield Way. So we do need to be grateful here to the landowner. I guess this was introduced when Barton Hill's Cutting was built. Can't remember when that was, but it probably meant a path diversion. Just walking round the back of the interestingly named water gutter hole here on the map. Plenty of pheasants in these fields next to me on the left, eating seed spill, which is another advantage obviously of leaving the stubble and doing a spring sow. And what a pretty decent vista you get on my left. As you can see, pheasants everywhere, but it's the view in the distance that I'm taking in at the moment. Coming round towards Sharpenhoe Clappers. We have filmed this vista previously, but from Sharpenhoe Clappers, which are over that way there. And there on my right, overlooking Barton Hill's Cutting, another decent vista. Good bit of road engineering there to preserve the countryside, albeit you can hear it quite well. This is the view over Sharpenhoe from the back of Smithcombe Valley. And there is evidence of a lot of redundant gates and former paths. So as I say, we've got to be thankful to the farmer here for letting us walk on what was his field boundary once. And pretty decent underfoot it is as well, as it's still relatively new by the looks of it. Now entering the National Trust's property, Sharpenhoe Clappers. And there's a path being removed here to allow the sheep more shelter in the hot weather. Not that that affects today's walk in any way, shape or form. So up there. You could take the Chiltern Way through that gate there for possibly more beneficial views, but we're sticking with the Icknield Way, which will join up with the Chiltern Way further on. Looking back whence I've come, 45 minutes of daylight left now, well, till sunset. About 500 foot up here, and at this gate is where the Chiltern Way comes out to join us on the Icknield Way, which is now left up here. Now back on the Bunion Trail as we descend through this tree belt. You can just make out the mausoleum there at Rest Park, which is the local weather station for this area. Been monitoring it over the last couple of days. And ahead of me there, Sharpenhoe Clappers. Might take the internal way down this time. Different perspective. Wonderful views down the valley though. Obviously you don't get these in the summer. So I say the four seasons throw up lots of different perspectives on a walk. So it's easy to do it 3 or 4 times in a year and get a different angle. So whereas I normally take the side path for the views, today I've come into the woodland on the actual old settlement site to see the trig point here. And there's a little bit of tale of how Sharpenhoe was bequeathed by these people to the National Trust. Google that if you can't read it, want to learn more. Straight on north-ish through the woodland to exit this place. Wonderful. Something very eerie about it, being a former fort on the 11th of the 11th. Down a couple of flights of steps, whichever path you take. So just leaving Sharpenhoe, where in fact there's no footpath. There is a bit of road walking indicated here on the GPX trail, but there's a verge on the other side which we'll probably follow for a couple of 100 yards to meet up with the next path. And here is said bridle way, which is just as well because this is a busy road. Looking back at Sharpenhoe Clappers in the setting sun, well, not setting sun, but the setting evening, and the farmer here, presumably of Brookend Green Farm, has not reinstated the footpath. So I've reported that on Pathwatch, as I suggest any viewers do. Download it. More people that use it, the more pressure it will put on the Ramblers up to update it. But yeah, it's ridiculous. That was quite an unnecessary trudge simply because the farmer hasn't reinstated the path with a roller. compacting it, that's the trick. Luckily it's sheep in this field as the farmhouse comes into view there. You tend to find livestock not too far from the farmhouse, I'm finding, and it's almost invariably towards the end of a walk where you encounter these beasts. Thankfully though, not too many cattle these days. Pleasant little stream on my left here as we are about to hit Barton Road, and we've got to do some road walking again. Pretty powerful as well. I wonder if it's coming from the springs. So as you can see, there is actually a footpath here, just as well, because it is quite a busy road, as I said earlier. Walking over the A6, which is now dual at this point. And so, bang on sunset time, 4:15, we re-enter Barton-Le-Clay. And there's a Wesleyan chapel, Methodist church, that's still in use, which is unusual. Just walking now through some alleyways, through a residential area. Okay, here we are, 9.1 miles and 3 hours 28 I made that, and a very decent walk that was. Lots of variety in it, some wonderful views, and just about right for a pretty mild November day, I must admit. Bit drizzly and misty initially, but that disappeared and it turned out very nice, as did the views. So that's North Herts Ramblers E-Walk 24 completed, and as usual in this area, Barton, highly recommended. So until the next time, take care. Can't really leave as a final point on the 11th of the 11th 21 without filming this character, lest we forget. God rest their souls.